There's a kind of grief that doesn't fade. It lingers in the marrow of those who've lived through it. A heavy silence that drips into every sunrise, every breath. That's what haunted Hollow Ridge, a small mountain town tucked between ridges and rivers where fog clings to the trees like old sorrow. 4 years ago, on a warm August night, two teenage girls, Emily Hart and Grace Miller, vanished. They'd been best friends since childhood, inseparable, wild in that way only small-town kids can be. They left the summer fair together just before dark, waving goodbye to friends, laughing under the Ferris wheel lights. Then they were gone. No tire tracks, no signs of struggle, no witnesses. The mountain swallowed them whole. For weeks, the entire town searched. Helicopters cut through fog. Dogs barked into endless forest. Volunteers dragged the riverbanks. But after the second month, the noise faded. The posters on telephone poles turned to ghosts. Paper curling, colors bleeding in the rain. The families prayed, waited, then stopped waiting. Because waiting hurt too much. 4 winters passed. The seasons rolled on without mercy. Hollow Ridge went quiet. A town that used to celebrate every first snow now carried a grief it couldn't bury. But there was one woman who never quite accepted silence. Margaret Leary, 63, lived alone near the base of the mountain. She was soft-spoken, a widow for nearly a decade, and her only constant companion was Jasper, her golden retriever with a gray muzzle and loyal eyes. Every morning they walked the same trail, a narrow path winding through spruce and pine up to a ridge overlooking the valley. Margaret talked to Jasper the whole way, sometimes about her late husband, sometimes about the girls. She'd known Emily's mother, helped cook for search parties during those early desperate days. But lately something in the woods had changed. Jasper would stop mid-walk, ears pricked, growling toward the western slope where the forest thickened like a wall. The birds avoided it. The air there smelled different, damp, heavy, old. "What is it, boy?" she'd whisper. He'd only stare. Some part of her, buried deep, began to listen to that silence too. On a bitter January morning, frost webbed the edges of every leaf. Margaret tugged her coat tighter as Jasper trotted ahead, tail swaying. The snow crunched softly beneath their boots. The town was still asleep below them, smoke rising from chimneys, the world wrapped in winter's hush. Then Jasper stopped, his head snapped up, ears twitching. He sniffed the air, then bolted toward the old logging road, a trail no one used anymore since it collapsed years back. "Jasper!" Margaret called, voice echoing across the trees. He didn't stop. She followed, heart pounding as the forest grew denser, darker. Branches clawed her coat, snow falling in soft showers from above. When she found him, he was barking furiously at a pile of rocks near a small ravine. Beneath the rocks, a kind of dark gap in the earth, a cave, half hidden by roots and snow, like the mountain itself had been trying to cover it. Margaret knelt beside him. "What did you find?" she whispered. Then she saw it. Something glinting just inside the entrance. A bracelet caught in a crack. Pink plastic beads spelling out a single word. Grace. Her breath froze in her throat. The forest seemed to hold still. The wind stopped. Only Jasper's soft whimpering broke the silence. Margaret stumbled back, trembling. Her mind raced. Could it really be hers? The missing girl from 4 years ago? She grabbed her phone, her fingers barely steady enough to dial. "Sheriff Danner, it's Margaret Leary. You need to come up to the ridge right now. I think I found something." Within an hour, the quiet mountain roared back to life. Police cruisers lined the dirt road, headlights cutting through fog. Yellow tape went up. Searchlights flooded the trees. Reporters arrived uninvited, whispering into cameras about a new lead. Margaret stood at the edge, wrapped in a blanket, watching as officers crawled into the narrow cave entrance. The first deputy emerged pale, his voice low, broken. "There's something in there," he said. "You'll want the coroner." The news spread through Hollow Ridge like wildfire. The church bells rang for the first time in years. Not for prayer, but because people didn't know what else to do. Hope had returned, but it had teeth. Inside the cave, the air was stale and thick with the smell of decay. The walls glistened with moisture, the floor uneven, covered in dirt and remnants of an old campsite. A small rusted lantern, a pile of wrappers, 2 sleeping bags, and beside them the remains. The girls had been there all along, less than 2 miles from home. The medical examiner's report would later confirm what the evidence already whispered. A landslide had collapsed the cave entrance that summer, sealing them in. They'd survived for days, maybe weeks, on what little they had. A melted flashlight lay beside a torn notebook. The final page read, "It's getting dark again. We can hear them calling, but they're too far. If anyone finds this, tell Mom I wasn't scared." The handwriting was shaky but clear. When Sheriff Danner read it aloud to the parents, every word seemed to echo through the station. There were no villains, no kidnappers, no monsters, only the cruel, indifferent hands of nature and the mountain's silence. Hollow Ridge wept as one. Margaret never saw herself as a hero, though the town tried to make her one. "It wasn't me," she told reporters quietly. "It was Jasper. He found them." The old dog became a local legend overnight, the savior of Hollow Ridge. People brought him treats. Children drew pictures of him wearing a medal. But Margaret knew it wasn't luck. Jasper had been restless for weeks, waking her at night, pacing the porch, whining toward the forest. She believed animals knew things humans couldn't, that they felt the energy of the lost, the pull of unfinished stories. Sometimes she wondered if the girls' spirits had guided him there, leading him home. At night, when she closed her eyes, she swore she could still hear the faint jingle of the bracelet beads in the wind, whispering a thank you. The cave was sealed after the investigation, marked as a memorial site. Locals began leaving flowers and candles at the trailhead, prayers carved into the bark of nearby trees. Hollow Ridge found its voice again and went fragile, trembling but alive. Emily and Grace's parents finally buried their daughters side by side on the hill overlooking the town. It snowed that morning, soft flakes that fell like ash, like forgiveness. And yet the mountain never truly let go. Hikers reported strange lights near the cave entrance at dusk, lantern-like glows drifting between the trees. Others swore they heard laughter echoing faintly through the fog, 2 young voices chasing each other through the woods. "It's just the wind," the sheriff said. But Margaret knew better. "It's them," she whispered one evening, standing by the ridge. "They're just going home." Years later, when Jasper passed away, the town gathered for him too. Margaret buried him under the oak at the edge of her porch, his favorite spot to watch the valley. Every spring, wildflowers grew over his grave, bright and untamed. Sometimes, on clear nights, Margaret walked to the ridge with a lantern in hand, leaving fresh flowers by the cave. "Sleep well, girls," she'd whisper. The grief had changed shape now, no longer sharp but tender, like something sacred. Hollow Ridge still carries their story, not as a tragedy but as a reminder that even the coldest places can speak, if someone is willing to listen. And somewhere, deep in that mountain where the air hums with memory and moonlight seeps through stone, 2 souls rest side by side, free, found, and finally home. If this story moved you, leave a light for them, like the video to honor their memory. Comment your thoughts and subscribe for more cinematic stories where mystery, emotion, and truth meet in the quiet corners of the world.